From the studios of WFAN, this is Mike's on Francesa on the Fan on this Football Friday, October the 6th, which will be an abbreviated baseball show as we take you right up until Yankee baseball. The pregame at 4:30, Yankee baseball at 5. A lot of baseball today, starting with the Red Sox in a little while. So we're here with a Friday show. We'll squeeze in a little NFL, very little today, though. It won't be a regular NFL show. It will be obviously a big baseball show. You'll hear from both managers and everything else after last night's very tough game one. I apologize for not being there yesterday. I was planning to go to Cleveland, and I don't know, just got unlucky. I got food poison on Wednesday night, and for about 12, 14 hours, there was nothing I could do except to be throwing up. So, in one day it's gone, hopefully gone. It feels like it is. And I don't know where it came from, but it was just an unlucky occurrence and kept me from having to make a trip to Cleveland, which I had already made reservations, hotel, plane, everything, and already sent Mons ahead. So it was not a good situation, but nothing could be done about it. So we're back today after last night's game. I got to watch both games in full yesterday with the Red Sox. There wasn't much to watch there. A brilliant performance by Altuve, and then, of course, last night where the Yankees just ran into a lot of curveballs. I mean, that's basically it. The Indians love the curveball. Their pitchers love the curveball. They throw more curveballs than anybody else. They also strike out more hitters and walk fewer hitters than anybody else. They give up fewer home runs than everybody else. They're a great pitching team. They are a very talented team. This is a very tall order, and it goes from the frying pan into the fire. You know, a lot of people wondered why he pitched Bauer in Game 1. Bauer had been 9-1 with a 2 ERA since July 27th. So this manager knows what he's doing. He's the best manager in baseball. He knows what he's doing. He puts people in the right spot. You saw that in center field last night. You saw that on the mound. And now you go to Kluber, and believe it or not, he's been better than Bauer. If you go from the All-Star break, Kluber is 11-1 with an ERA a little over 1. So, I mean, he's been the best pitcher in the world since the All-Star break and has been the best pitcher in baseball this year. So he's been even better than Bauer, and Bauer was tremendous last night, and his curveball was as good as it gets. I don't even blame the Yankees last night. I just thought you ran into a hot pitcher. He was great. He wasn't good. He was great. He worked the fastball. He worked the curveball. And there was some even things I took from last night's game in what was obviously a game that felt like it was 10-0, but it wasn't. And actually, he had bat in the 8th inning, where if he had ever walked Judge, Sanchez would have come up with the bases loaded with a chance to tie the game in a game that they should have been long put to bed. But they had so many chances to break the game open, they didn't. So I came away with a couple of positives out of that game last night, which is good for this series. And you're looking for small things right now where you can take to the series against a team that is superior, against a team that might be superior to everybody this year. Number one, I thought that they had very good at-bats against Miller, which I think plays well. I didn't think he looked like himself. I thought he was struggling. So I think that's something to watch. They had very good at-bats. He wound up walking a couple of guys. He went to long counts on guys. So I like that. Number two, I thought Hicks established himself where he has to play. His defense was superb. His arm saved at least 2 runners from scoring where Ellsbury would allow them to score. And if he's going to hit it all, and he did get a hit last night, you got to play him because his arm really was a major factor last night. Twice there were balls that they held runners up that they would not have held up if Ellsbury was in the game, and he made a couple of nice catches. So his presence in center field has become a factor. That's number two. And then Betances showing you that, hey, you knew he was going to come in a bad game, and you knew he had to show that he could be himself. He came in a bad game. He came in a nothing spot, and he showed Joe, hey, I can be me. And when he's him, he's as good as it gets. And last night, that was the overpowering Betances, something that clearly gave Betances something he can build on to where you might think you need a second occurrence of that. I don't think so. I think Joe now would throw him back in now, thinking, hey, I saw what I need to see. I saw a little confidence builder. Maybe you'd like one more, but I'm probably going to get a chance for one more. But that's a positive. It really is a positive in this series. But the Yankees have got to get better starting pitching. If they can't, because they're going to be up a team that's going to give you superior starting pitching. It's not just Kluber. It's Bauer. It's Carrasco. They got them everywhere. These guys got pitches everywhere. They're all good, and they all throw the breaking ball, and that's what the Yankees have trouble with, especially their big hitters. So that's what you're going to see, a steady diet of it. All but 2 of Judge's home runs were hit off fastballs. They know that. They're not going to throw him any fastballs in the strike zone. They're going to throw him up, they're going to throw him out, and they're going to hit him with the curveball. They know what they're watching. They know what's going on here. All of his home runs in this second hot streak were all fastballs except for 2. And they know that. So you're going to see a steady diet of breaking balls here. And last night, Gray was wild. And I think Gray has had a habit now that I don't like. Pitches well enough to lose. And, just well, he hasn't gotten a lot of run support, we all know that, but just well enough to lose. Just well enough to make the big mistake in the right. See, you almost can't blame him, but you can blame him. And last night, really, his problem was Bruce. Indians didn't get a lot of hits last night. Indians didn't, bury anybody last night. Bruce killed him last night. He absolutely killed him. He killed him with the home run. He killed him with the sac fly. He killed him with every at-bat. So that's where they got hurt. They got hurt with the walks, and they got hurt with Bruce last night, who gave them a very, very big game, and, a game that he was brought in there to do. I mean, listen, this team went to the 7th game of the World Series last year, and it's better. They brought in power, and they brought, last year they didn't have that kind of power. They got a ton of power now this year, from Ramirez and Lindor and Bruce and Caucione, and they have all that pitching. And they catch the ball. I mean, listen, they're a wonderful baseball team, balanced, brilliantly managed. They are a tall order. And when you look at this right now, does it look easy? No. Got to, beat them 3 out of 4. This team is, 33-4 in its last 37 games. They got to beat them 3 out of 4? And they're going to pitch Kluber twice? I mean, this is a very, very, we knew it was a tall order. It's a very tall order. And this is going to be a very hard game to win today. And I know everyone's building CC up. And I couldn't believe, he's throwing out the numbers. They're making it sound like this is CC Sabathia 5 years ago. CC has done a good job this year, but he's not what he was 6 or 7 years ago. You can't count on a gem today. A lot of times it's CC just trying to get to 5. And I don't like this lineup against him. I don't like it. I think it's going to be a rough lineup. I'm worried about this game from CC today. I think he's great after a loss. He's had a great year. They wouldn't want anybody else on the mound. Hey, that's not how I looked at CC Sabathia this year. I was amazed at his year, but I never thought he was back to being the ace of the staff. I never treated him that way. Severino was the ace of the staff. CC was not the ace of the staff. And last night, the announcers almost painted him like he was the ace of the staff. He's not. He hasn't been, and it's not fair to ask him to be that either at this stage of his life. He's given them a brilliant season, and he has won after losses, but this is a very tough challenge today against that team and against that pitcher. This is really, you're asking a lot. You really are. I mean, if he gives you 6 good innings, you'd have to be, just utterly thrilled with that from the standpoint. I mean, there's only so much you can expect out of this guy. He's not a young man. And, the year he's had has been remarkable. It really has. But I think that it really has gotten carried away a little bit in how especially the national media is treating him. To where they're almost making him sound like, he's the guy they can count on. I never looked at CC that way this year. I really didn't. Despite what he's done, he has pitched really well. No one can dispute that. I wouldn't even think of disputing it. He's had a great year, a year that's earned him a chance, I think, to come back next year. No question about it. But let's not paint him like that he's been anybody's ace this year, or that he's the guy that you would expect. His ERA this year was good. It came down. It was down to 3.7, but he's, it's not what you would, he's not where you would expect him to be years and years ago, or that you've come to that many games this year where you can see him going very deep into the game. I mean, you can look long and hard. It is very hard to find games. I think CC had one game where he went 8 innings this year, and one game that I remember him going 7 innings. Otherwise, if you get 5 good innings out of CC, 5, 6, you did a great job. So, I mean, that's all you can expect these days. And the Yanks have plenty of depth in the pen, and everybody should be healthy and ready and rested and ready to go today. But I just think it's a lot to ask. I really do. CeCe pitched very well down the stretch. He pitched well in September. He went 3-0 in September with a 3.6 ERA. He had a very good year. His record was tremendous. He did answer after losses. I like a lot of things he did. Had a wondrous season. But I think it's almost like they're asking him to be something that you're asking him to turn back the clock tonight. That's a very, very tall order for him against this team. It really is. And against Kluber, who, like I said, has been unbelievable. His ERA in September, he was 5-0 with a 0.84 ERA in September. He was 11-1 since the All-Star break with an ERA about 1.2. And last year in the playoffs, he was virtually unbeatable. This guy is really talented. And he can go deep in the game, and they have a bullpen that can do the job. I mean, they pretty much can answer you with anything that they have to. So the Yankees have their work cut out for them. Is it impossible? Of course not. And it's a whole different series if they can get a win today. But getting a win today in that building against that pitcher is going to be very, very difficult. And the Yanks got a shake off last night. But I did see some things that I really thought were positives last night. It wasn't like a night where you just say, oh, let's get to the next game. This was a nightmare. I thought there was some things, and they did hang in that game, did control the game, keep the game closer than it should have been. It should have been broken open a couple of times by the Indians, who did not, were not able to break that game open despite having the bases loaded, no out, and the bases loaded and 1 out. One thing that scares you, though, is how you are going to throw with runners on base. It is very clear. They know that Sanchez is going to have trouble. He is going to have trouble, and I understand that certain pitches can be really tough, and you're trying to break off, breaking balls in the dirt to certain hitters, especially with guys on base. But that whole coordination, and yesterday he faced a lot of, 55-foot curveballs, more than he should have, from Gray and Garcia, more than he should have. But he's got to do a better job of blocking them. He just has to. And, he got a big break that the one he blocked with the bases loaded went up the third baseline. If that goes anywhere else, that's a different inning. He scores, they move up, the next guy doesn't hit into a double play, next guy gets a sac fly, and it's not a one-run inning. That changed things dramatically that ball rolled where it did. If it rolled anywhere else, there was a run. So that has got to get better than it looked last night. But he did, in his defense, face a whole bunch of 55-foot breaking balls last night that just found their way into the dirt. So the Yankees in game number 2. First, the Red Sox are up first today in a series where it does not look good for them on any level against this Houston team, which with Verlander in there now, just I think has too much power and too much pitching right now for the Red Sox, who are not doing, they're not all together right now. They're not healthy. They don't have enough pop in that lineup. They're not healthy. Betts is hurting. Pedroia is hurting. Nunez lasted 2 minutes. I think it's a tall order for them. And then we'll get the NL underway, especially tonight at 10:30, where Kershaw will go to the mound in a game that, he's supposed to win. That's all there is to it, facing against Walker for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks played well against the Dodgers this year, but still, you expect them to roll. And then I think the toughest series of the 4 is the Cubs and the Nationals. I think that's a very hard series to call, really hard. I think that could go really either way. I think that one should be I think that's the most interesting, and I would think probably the closest of the 4 series. I think that's a very hard one to call. So that's where we are on this Football Friday. We'll get to all the baseball. We'll get to Francona and Girardi coming up very soon. We got Yankee tickets to give away for game number 4. Be optimistic that there will be a game number 4 on Monday night. We have Giants tickets to give away also in this show that will go to 4:30. The pregame at 4:30. Yankee baseball at 5. We'll squeeze in some NFL.